Israel's military says it is preparing to carry out a wide-range offensive of Gaza by air, land and sea. More than 1 million Palestinians have been ordered to leave their neighbourhoods and flee south. At least 2,200 Palestinians have now been killed since Saturday. 724 of them are children. The Israeli military's continuous airstrikes have levelled homes and neighbourhoods. The UN's aid chief says that the humanitarian situation is fast becoming untenable. Water has now run out for the 2 million people in Gaza after Israel imposed its total blockade. Medics say they're overwhelmed with the number of civilian casualties. This video shows them responding to one of the latest airstrikes that happened in the south of the enclave, where Israel had ordered people to flee to. Tarek Abu Azoum has the latest from a hospital in Gaza.
I'm standing inside the Nasser Medical Hospital inside the Gaza Strip. As you can now clearly see right now in the front of you that the medical staffs are just racing the time in order to provide medical treatment for hundreds and thousands of Palestinians who really were bombarded by the Israeli occupation forces since the early outbreak of the current wave of escalation between Palestinian fighters and the Israeli occupation forces. Now, these medical staffs are working despite the intensive rhythm of responsibilities and even restrictions that had been imposed by the Israeli occupation forces. As you can see, beds are really prepared to receive victims, receive injured people. We are talking about a very minimum capacity of medical equipment that cannot be really enough for providing treatment for injured people inside the besieged enclave. Main in fact, the restrictions that had been imposed by the Israeli occupation forces during the early beginning of this conflict related to the panning and the deprivation of entry of medical supplies to the medical sector inside the Gaza Strip. We're talking about 9 parts of 9 Palestinian hospitals were bombarded by the Israeli occupation forces. Also, different pharmaceutical warehouses were destroyed by Israeli airstrikes. We are talking about 4 Palestinian hospitals were threatened with evacuation in the northern and central areas of the Gaza Strip. Now, the Palestinian Ministry of Health inside the besieged enclave had delivered different demands and calls for the international community and even for international powers to afford a humanitarian corridor for Palestinians to provide them with a humanitarian aid and even to provide the medical sector with different kind of medical items and necessary medical drugs in order to help Palestinians and to provide treatment for injured people. As water has run out of from the Gaza Strip, also the fuel has been also run out from the only solar power, the only power plant station inside the Gaza Strip. These kinds of restrictions and these kinds of obstacles that Palestinians are facing will bring further catastrophe consequences for the different life aspects inside the Gaza territory. It's important to mention that the medical health system inside the Gaza Strip is witnessing such a great deterioration due to the lack of fuel and the lack of water sources. We're talking about different staffs who just are looking exhausted due to their ongoing services, despite the fact that they are working with their limited capabilities and their limited capacities. This hospital is trying to invest as much as possible in terms of the fuel consumption in order to be able to provide further medical services for its patients. And even with the run out of water, it seems that a new catastrophe might really loom if this situation continues.
Well, it's been 5 days since Israel cut off electricity to Gaza. Residents have been struggling to communicate with each other and the outside world. But some have managed to send Al Jazeera audio messages to make sure that their voices are still heard.
It is completely dark here. All I can do is to send my voice that the situation here in Gaza is unbearable. I'm afraid to die. I don't want to die. I want to achieve my dreams. All that we hear is bombardments. The Israeli occupation is acting crazy. Israel targets innocent civilians, and there is no safer place here. I don't know what the world is waiting for.
Here is Gaza, where we buried alive by the Israeli occupation. I'm alive now, but I don't know if I will be alive in the coming few moments. We die here in silence, and no one hears our voices. In Gaza, nothing is louder than the sound of the Israeli rockets and missiles. Nothing is louder than the sound of death. My real question is whether the genocide in Gaza is not enough to move the world. I ask everyone who hears my voice, please act immediately to save Gaza.